Greg Norman says this week, LIV Golf leaders sent a different message. Since the beginning of LIV Golf, the breakaway league has tried to walk a fine line. Act too aggressively and this can alienate potential players and fans. Act too shy and won't create the turmoil needed for his success. So, LIV tried to do a few things, take pictures on the PGA Tour when they had the opportunity, sure you're kidding, etc. That rhetoric changed this week. This means that the general LIV strategy is also changing. Greg Norman referred to the transformation in an interview with Australian. After a year of what he claimed were attempts to find common ground with the tour and with its commissioner, Jay Monahan, Norman said the dynamic has now turned. He no longer wanted to meet. "We have no interest in sitting with them, to be honest with you, because our product works," Norman said. As with all things LIV, how you see Norman's latest media attack depends on how you feel about the newbie. You could argue that it's easy for Norman to say he didn't want to meet the tour because they made it clear they didn't want to meet him. "Oh, can't I come to your party? I actually don't want that." But if you're more receptive to the new league, you could also argue that Norman and the LIV team jumped over so many early hurdles that they're on a winning run. Skeptics questioned whether the circuit would be able to attract the best talent and whether it would be able to pull events. While the PGA Tour has retained the vast majority of its top pros, LIV's promises of big paydays have won a significant unit in the world's top 100. The events and their accompanying broadcast were a success as well, presenting a show to thousands of fans daily. Over time, objections to Saudi funding of the league became increasingly buried in the midst of the daily news. The launch of LIV was not entirely smooth, but given the tight time frame and lack of existing infrastructure, it was certainly efficient. Money helps with that, of course. Money will remain an asset. As the fields grew stronger, LIV stars also appeared. Two of the league's most expensive signings, Dustin Johnson and Cameron Smith, have won the two most recent events. Norman protested their success on Instagram on Sunday, stating that they were the real world's number 1 and 2. This does not mean that the success of LIV is inevitable. So far, her broadcasts have only been played on YouTube and their website, with no commercials. And despite a strong personal performance, LIV struggled over the weekend to keep the audience. One accounting viewer numbers peaked at 50,000, 63,000 and 95,000 on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, significantly down from the Massachusetts event, which peaked at 75,000 viewers on Friday, 75,000 viewers on Saturday and 182,000 viewers on Sunday. A decline was expected, it's NFL season, after all, and a Napa event on the PGA Tour surely didn't break ratings records. But given LIV's lofty goals, they will eventually need to find an audience that is closer to the tour-like audience. Re-enter Norman. He also claimed that LIV is in discussions with 4 different networks. "All I can say is that the interest that's showing up on our plate right now is tremendous," he said in an interview with ESPN 1000 Chicago. DeChambeau put it more simply, "All I can say is that the interest that's showing up on our plate right now is tremendous, the streaming deal represents a massive step toward LIV's legitimacy, promising more eyeballs and a more attractive product to potential investors or franchisees." And while CBS, NBC and ESPN are working with the PGA Tour, Fox, which ditched the USGA deal in 2020, has been rumored as a potential landing spot. Is Norman telling the whole truth? Hard to say. It is true that there is no shortage of benefit in LIV. But translating that interest into actual deals may be more difficult than what it represents. Norman, and the stock-owning captain of LIV, knows that once a few big sponsors fall, a domino effect can lead to more. As a result, showing strength is in the interest of LIV. And so Norman does just that, maximizing the confidence and pride that LIV is built on. He was the showman front and center. A montage of him greeting fans fills his Instagram feed, skydiving in one event and getting a mullet in another. And this week he will take that fight to Capitol Hill, where he plans to discuss the district's model and plans with members of Congress. One effect of Norman spending more time in the spotlight, projecting strength and aggressiveness, is that it provides cover for LIV golfers to choose their own style in the controversial league. LIV's most famous proponent, Phil Mickelson, took a slightly different path. Since his comments on Saudi paddock supporters nearly drowned out the league, Mickelson has been uncharacteristically cautious in his media appearances. However, this week provided a more ambitious assessment of the future of professional golf. The PGA Tour, for the past 20 or 30 years, has had the best players in the world. That will never be the case again. LIV Golf is here to stay, and that kind of divisive talk does no good to anyone. That last paragraph alluded to Mickelson's moderate message. Unlike Norman, Mickelson, who, it's worth noting, is part of the lawsuit against the PGA Tour, is hoping the two leagues can find a compromise. The most compelling testimony of the week came from Anirban Lahiri and Joaquin Niemann, top golfers from India and Chile, respectively. They said LIV allowed their compatriots to see more golf on stage. After some initial setbacks, Niemann said he feels Chileans have joined LIV. "Everyone in Chile loves it," he said. "Everyone in Chile loves it." Of course, LIV recruits are highly motivated to paint a rosy picture of their new home. Tourism loyalists have plenty of incentive to talk about existing infrastructure, too, but this seems like the week they've all gone in with the message. LIV is now playing the insulting role. Consider the appeal DeChambeau attaches to his LIV decision. Winning the US Open, US Amateurs, and NCAAs is something I will never forget, but I think my greatest achievement when I go back a decade, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, is probably LIV Golf and what they will do for the game," he said.